Welcome back, everyone. Lakers got a big win over the Wizards. Not the best team, but we'll take the win regardless. Hold on, let me turn on my light here. Um, Lakers getting back in the win column. Great game for Luka Doncic. Luka having a triple-double by halftime tonight. I mean, hardly can believe the guy at this point going off for well over 37 points, 37, 11, and 13 tonight. Oh, hold on, I got a little uh got a little. Hold on. Okay. I think I got that fixed now. Anyway, like I was saying, Luka Doncic, good game, triple double tonight. Wizards, not the best team, but we'll take it. LeBron throwing down some massive dunks. Lakers actually showing some energy tonight. Not like last game in Cleveland, not their best game, and they kind of turned it around. Back in the win column, and we're going to break down my 5 takeaways from this game tonight. Again, keep in mind, not the best team, not the best opponent, but we'll take a win regardless. And for my takeaway number one, like I kind of referred to before, I think it's got to be Luka Doncic having the triple-double by halftime, 26 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, has now made a three-point shot in at least three three-point shots in at least 9 straight games now, shooting over 40% from the three-point line at that time, finishing with 37, 11, and 13. Absolutely insane. So, nothing to complain about with Luka. The guy looked automatic, looked unstoppable. Washington had no answer for him throughout the entire game. So, huge game for Luka. Kind of weird that we're getting kind of accustomed to this. Maybe not quite to this level, but having a 30 plus point game for Luka every game, it's pretty much a common thing nowadays. I'm not surprised. I don't think you're surprised by it. Nobody should be surprised at this point. Leading the entire NBA in points per game, and add another triple double to that list. And I think Stu Lance or Billy Mack said during the game that was the first ever Laker triple double by halftime. So Luka even making some purple and gold history in that one too. So great game for Luka Doncic, and I'll definitely take it. Then for takeaway number two, finally some signs of life from Deandre Ayton, finishing with 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks tonight, even being a team high plus 30. So every lineup that he played in tonight was a plus on the court. He didn't have a mental lapse, didn't have a physical lapse. He played hard throughout the entire game, and that's been a night and day difference for DeAndre lately. Often jogging up and down the court, not going after rebounds, not really putting in the full effort. I'll definitely take it. So, good game for Deandre Ayton, ultimately finishing again with well over 20 points. I think the first time he's done that in definitely over a week, nearly 2 weeks now at this point, having a triple, or not triple double, that was Luka, having a double double. So, good game for DeAndre. I'll take it. Even 12 of 14 from the field, very efficient. Good two-way performance for him. A lot of talk about him being traded lately. Mainly fan discussion at this point, as he probably won't be purely from trade value. But if they can get 20 points, 10 rebounds from him, I think anytime they do get that, they've barely ever gotten beat. So I like the mix of involvement along with his simply effort off the ball tonight. Luka, LeBron getting him involved early, getting him involved in the pick and roll, getting lobs to him around the rim, dump offs. Good mix of DeAndre with the playmaking from Luka and LeBron. And yes, again, simply not a great opponent. That definitely helped. They have pretty much no rim protection, especially when Alex Sarr was off the court. I think they had Anthony Gill in at center, a guy that I didn't even know is still in the NBA, to be quite frank with you, but that's the tanking Washington Wizards for you. Regardless, good way for Ayton to get back on track, and he did tonight. Then for takeaway number three, I would point to the second quarter lineup, or actually, let me correct that, the first quarter lineup of Luka Doncic, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, and with Gabe Vincent, but mainly the four of Luka, Vando, Rui, and Hayes. After LeBron went out, that lineup went on a 19-9 run, really built the 20-point lead for the Lakers that they never let go of. After LeBron subbed out, they really dominated the Wizards on both ends of the court. Not only that, but Luka, that's really the lineup that helped him get out to that hot start, helped him build upon that 30 plus points they dropped. He got to be ball dominant in that lineup. Not only that, but the three-man combination of Luka, Rui, and Jackson Hayes have a plus 4.3 net rating this season. After this game, I'm guessing he'll be a plus 5 net rating. That's been a great three-man combination for them, whether it's been in the starting lineup here and there, mainly in the early portion of the year, or after Rui came back now. That's been a good bench starting lineup, kind of mixed rotation for them. Those three, often with Jared Vanderbilt, that's been a good 3 or 4 man combination, and it once again showed up tonight. So that's takeaway number 3. Then for my fourth takeaway, I would point to the Lakers running a lot of zone defense. Not my favorite look for them in some matchups, but tonight it looked pretty good. Kind of doing a half zone. Like they would start the possession out in a zone defense, but after the Wizards either got past one guy, then they'd switch to a man. It was kind of a weird half zone kind of thing, half a boxes and elbows kind of defense a little bit too. But whenever they play a team that's not a great 3-point shooting team, or if they're simply facing a lineup that's they don't really respect from the 3-point line, their ability to space the court, they will often turn to that zone defense, and it's actually gotten a little bit better lately. Hard to really say how great it was tonight against a pretty bad opponent, let's be honest, but I thought it showed some good signs tonight. The overall results have been fairly mixed, as the Lakers are currently the 23rd rated defense in their past 5 games entering this one. But if they can find a way to be a bit more, I guess, consistent with that zone defense and learn the ins and outs a bit, get more comfortable within it, at least have 1 or 2 lineup combinations that run it really well, then maybe in some matchups, much like teams like the Miami Heat show, definitely can be a good thing for them. So, not really saying it's been great, but something I've noticed, and especially during the first half of this game, was how much they ran zone defense. So, not complaining about it, but we'll see how it goes moving forward. Then for my fifth and final takeaway, I'd simply point to if this will be the final game of Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect as Lakers. We've heard the trade rumors about them being included in a DeAndre Hunter trade. If it would happen after this game, much like the Luka Doncic trade last season, I think even the Dorian Finney-Smith trade, they came a couple hours after a win, after a pretty good win. So definitely not saying it's going to happen, but with the rumors and with there being legitimate trade discussion, and we have both Hachimura and Connect named in that trade discussion, might it be their final game? I kind of doubt it, as there's 2 more games before the trade deadline, or I think even 3 of them. I think 3 games before the trade deadline. But you never know, I guess. Every time you watch Rui Hachimura and Dalton Connect as Lakers going forward, it could be their final game as a Laker. So those are my 5 takeaways. Whether or not the 5th one comes through, whether or not the defense and the energy really applied that much against a not so great team, that's up for debate here. But yeah, take everything with a grain of salt. I'll definitely take the win. I'm sure you guys will take the win tonight too. Much better to watch a game and the Lakers win by 30 than getting beat by nearly 30 like they did in Cleveland. So anytime to get a win, especially a road win amidst an 8-game road trip, is something that you can't take for granted. So with that being said, I'll answer a few of you guys' questions or anything you want to talk about post game. I'll go for another few minutes here and there. Then I'll wrap it up and probably create my post game video, but appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk about anything that you want to talk about now. Great games, still some mistakes, but I'll take the W anyway, any day. Yeah, definitely that's kind of my summarization feel on it too. Not a great win in terms of a great opponent. Something we've seen from the Lakers is that they tend to beat up on these pretty bad teams, but hey, the Wizards had 1-2 in a row prior to this game. I'm not entirely sure who they beat, and if whoever got beat by them watched tonight, they probably feel pretty embarrassed, but hey, I'll take it. They've been playing a bit better lately. It was on their own home court, so yeah, I'll take the W any day. And yes, for their next matchup, they do got the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. That should be a fun one. The Knicks also have plenty of trade rumors going on right now. Will Karl Anthony Towns be traded? Maybe, maybe not. We've heard a lot about that one. Definitely not to the purple and gold, I can't imagine, but maybe to a different center needy team. Who knows? I imagine that he will be a Knick for their matchup on Sunday. Will all three of him, Rui, and Dalton Connect be on the same team that they are right now at that time? Who knows? But yeah, that is their next matchup, and it should be a fun one. If the Lakers trade Rui for Hunter, then we riot. To me, it would really depend on the trade package they would deal out for him and what they get for him. If it would simply be Rui Hachimura, Dalton Connect, and them salary dumping Gabe or Maxi to Brooklyn or whatever other team, and excuse me, and not getting any draft compensation back for it, not getting an additional asset from Brooklyn or whatever that third team might be, whether it be a Haywood Highsmith, Daron Sharp, a wing player from a different team. If they don't manage to do that, then yeah, it would be very disappointing. Yes, there might be future implications of them trading for DeAndre Hunter, then using his contract to make another trade this summer. Maybe they're playing the long game with it, but for the short term future and with this team, I would definitely also prefer Rui Hachimura than DeAndre Hunter. But never know, I guess. We'll see what happens with it. Man, most of the time Lakers play horrible, then beat them in the fourth quarter. Yeah, that does tend to be a trend for them. They'll play not so great, or they'll have a good second quarter usually. The Lakers have been a really good second quarter team lately, but a not so great third quarter team. And then they come in, make their comeback, and come up clutch in the fourth quarter. They're a very good clutch team that we can all definitely admit. That's been the one thing that they've been consistent with the entire season. Um, I think they have a 14-2 or 15-2 clutch record. It did not come down to that tonight, thankfully. If the Wizards would have clawed their way back, I think I would have been throwing stuff at that point. Only half joking about that. But yeah, luckily it didn't take a clutch game tonight. Luckily it didn't take a 20-point comeback. Knock on wood that it won't be the case in their next game against the Knicks. But yeah, that has been a concerning trend for them off and on throughout the year. Who don't I want to be traded if it was up to me? Kind of a loaded question, just in terms of anyone on the team. I think there are a few obvious answers with that, like Luka, obviously, even though he can't be traded legitimately. LeBron having a no trade clause, he can't be traded unless he would want to be traded. But I think you mean more the role players on their team. From that standpoint, honestly, there's not many role players on their team that are untradeable to me. In fact, I don't think any of them are. Probably the closest one to untradeable, given the value for their contract and what they're getting paid, to me would probably have to be Jackson Hayes. Probably not the guy that you think of, but in my opinion, he's been one of the best backup centers in the entire league this season. You know, he doesn't shoot threes. He's not maybe the flashiest guy in terms of scoring output and points per game. But if you watch him on the court and how well he consistently plays, especially with Luka Doncic, that's a great two-man combination. Again, I referenced the lineup combination of him, Rui, and Hayes himself, how well that three-man combo has worked this season. I think Hayes has been very underrated for their team. I think he's playing well above his salary and what he's being paid right now. I think he's a definite candidate to get re-signed to their team and probably for more than a 1 year deal finally. I think he's earned it. He would take a lot for me to be traded in regard to a player swap and excuse me, and simply being thrown in, definitely not a throw-in player. If I'm trading Hayes, and especially for how little he's being paid, I'd probably want to honestly close to a protected first round draft pick or something like that. And even then, I don't want to trade him right now at all. Apart from that, though, again, I have guys on the team I like, but either because of their contract or their fit on the team, definitely not close to being untradeable. Rui, obviously, mentioned him. I like him, but not close to untradeable. Vanderbilt, I like him, but honestly, with his contract, he might not even be tradable. He's a negative valued contract. And apart from all them, a guy who's kind of a borderline all-star for them at this point that I don't want to trade would be Austin Reeves. I know some other people feel differently about that, but I think a majority of actual Laker fans, not simply LeBron fans or Luka fans or whatever, most of the true Laker fans I think want to keep Austin Reeves, and I would put myself in that category too. We got a super chat here from the notorious CRG. No more goat combos, I promise. Where was Trey? Oh, that's fine. You're referring to the stream I did earlier today, where you guys got on a little bit of a tangent. I seen that. I was kind of half looking over the entire time. But Trey Young for the actual game tonight, I don't think he'll play for the rest of the season. He has a what I think hamstring injury right now, maybe an ankle injury. I can't quite remember. But even though he probably could play if they really needed him to, if they're in the playoffs or something, we know the Wizards are trying to tank. They're doing everything but outright saying it. They're not trying to win. They're trying to get a better draft pick. They're going to try to win more next season. Then they're going to have a better team around Trey Young. They'll have cap space this summer. They'll have a good draft pick, I imagine. So, yeah, Trey Young was not out there tonight, and that was definitely by plan. But appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the super chat. We'll follow up here. What would Hayes need to work on so he could be a bigger role rotation player? Um, One thing I'd point to with Hayes would probably be consistent team defense. He's definitely become better throughout his time with their team, going on 3 years now. But team defense would be one thing. He's gotten a lot better at going up actually vertically and not fouling nearly half the time they contest a shot. But team defense and knowing where to be every time down the court, whether it be with his drop coverage, that's the biggest role they plays their team on defense, but more so around the rim, recovering, and I don't want to say switching because that's not really what I'm trying to say, but team defense elements are one thing that I'd like to see him improve a bit. Take that next step between being a slightly above average rim protector to being a legitimately great rim protector. He definitely has the athletic ability to do it. He has the length, he has the energy. Now he's just got to put it together IQ wise and kind of understanding the true fundamentals of team defense. That would definitely be one thing I'd point to with him. You know, of course, any player in the NBA that can't shoot from the 3 point line, if they can add that, that's automatically a huge value boost. Not even from a team standpoint, but an individual value standpoint. Let's say hypothetically, if Jackson would add a somewhat reliable 3 point shot, even become a 33 to 35%er from the 3 point line, that would take him from a basically minimum contract backup big like he is right now, even though, like I said, I think he's worth a bit more than that, probably to a 15 million per year kind of guy. Might sound weird, but that's how much 3 point shooting, athleticism, and energy like he can offer, theoretically with a 3 point shot added to that, is worth in today's NBA. So, kind of a loaded answer there, but that's what I'd say with Hayes. The team defense, improving the IQ a bit, and then hypothetically with a bit more diversification to his offensive game too. Yep, he did play good tonight. We'll have to see about the New York Knicks game. I never like to say a player is not going to play great. I don't even like to say that they're for sure going to have a great game in whatever game we're ever talking about. But it does tend to be a trend with Ayton, following up a really good game with a not so great game. Hopefully, apart from the stat line next game, it'll simply be a full effort game from him. not, trying hard on one play, getting mad because he didn't touch the ball on the other play, and then jogging back down the court. Again, don't want to talk too much about it, but hopefully he can keep this up. Final question. Could the Lakers get their ideal wing this trade deadline? Herb, Wiggins, Ellis, and in the offseason get their future center like Claxton or Kessler? Or is it wishful thinking? I don't know about their ideal wing or even their ideal center this trade deadline. Like they've shown, or I guess like the trade reports have kind of hinted at, given the fact they're going after a guy like DeAndre Hunter, I feel like they don't even think they can get their ideal 3 and D wing or I guess even center at the trade deadline with their limited trade assets and not really showing the willingness to trade either Austin, obviously. Again, I wouldn't do that. That's by far their best trade asset. And then not even really showing the willingness to trade their first round draft pick, at least up until this point. Probably not going to get their ideal player, whether it be at the wing or in the front court. Maybe kind of close to it. I would definitely say it's more likely to get a close to ideal 3 and D wing at the deadline compared to a center. There's not many centers that are really on the trade market. Therefore, you're not going to get a great trade price for one that might be an ideal one in your eyes. So probably the offseason for the center, maybe close to an ideal 3 and D wing at the deadline, but even then it might be a little bit of wishful thinking. I'd love to see it happen though. How am I feeling about JJ right now? I think JJ has gotten a lot of hate lately. A little bit too much, in my opinion. It's not uncommon for a Lakers head coach to get a ton of unnecessary hate whenever the team gets beat. I'll definitely say that he's not been perfect. I've critiqued him quite a bit this season. Not saying that I could do any better. Not that any of us could do any better. But with the lineups, with how stubborn he's been, with certain players here and there, with certain rotations, certain lineups, yeah, I've definitely been frustrated with it. But beyond that, I will say that he's gotten a little bit too much hate lately. Um, but yeah, you can go on a tangent with that I'm not going to go on. Have I noticed if it's Hayes' 3 point shooting stroke? Is it something he can improve, or is it mechanics like a Lonzo ball? I mean, at one time, Hayes, he was a pretty good 3 point shooter, or maybe not pretty good, but was the guy that took them at least. I can even pull up how many he made during his second and third year in the NBA because he made a pretty decent amount. Back when he played for New Orleans and back when he was teammates, not being coached by JJ Redick, I'm genuinely shocked that Redick, having seen it from him, he doesn't try to get him back to it. But during his third year in the NBA, he did make 23 point shots, shooting 35.1%, and on a much more limited volume in his second year, shot 6 of 14 at 42.9%, pretty much took all of them at the very end of that year. So, showing that, could he get back to it at a slightly higher volume? Maybe attempt one ish, 1 to 2 per game, maybe make one every other game to simply be viewed as a minor 3 point shooting threat. Um, I don't know. I think it's something he should look back into in regard to his 3 point shooting stroke. It wasn't the prettiest that I remember. I don't have a perfectly vivid memory of it off the top of my head, but there's definitely been a whole lot worse. I think he can probably get back to it. He can definitely improve it with some minor shooting motion mechanic improvement, but I definitely don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It's really weird that a big will show 3 point shooting potential like him during years 1 through 3, even at a 20 to 21-year old, and then go away from it. Usually it's the opposite. Usually it's a guy like Brook Lopez who doesn't take them for the first half decade of his career, only to then work on it slowly but surely and build up the confidence to take them and then become one of the best 3 point shooting bigs in the entire league. Usually it goes more that way. The only two I can think of that took them and then stopped taking them are Hayes and Luke Cornett, weirdly enough. But yeah, I think he can get back to it. I think the shooting motion's pretty decent for a big, but got to get the confidence back or got to get a little bit more comfortable with it again. Do we do the Hunter trade with Rui included if it means also getting Day'Ron Sharpe? Given that the Lakers have been linked to Day'Ron Sharpe, um, according to some reports, I can't remember directly from who, but before free agency last summer, they were linked to him. Apparently, had some kind of interest in him. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if that might be what the trade would look like. If they would be willing to do it, if Brooklyn would get involved and Day'Ron Sharpe gets rerouted to their team, they salary dump a guy like Kleba, him going to Brooklyn, Day'Ron Sharpe coming back with DeAndre Hunter. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if they would accept that. I think that would be a pretty good, not consolation prize, but a good little incentive to trade Rui Hachimura, even though he's been a pretty good offensive fit for your team. He's been a really good 3-point shooting threat for your team. And he's a guy that Luka and Austin both like playing with. So if I'm going to do that, I definitely want a pretty darn good trade asset to do it, not simply second round draft picks, even though that would help. It would give us more trade assets to make a few further trade after that one. But yeah, if there's any role player on Brooklyn that would incentivize the Lakers to make it, apart from a MPJ or Nick Claxton, obviously, which wouldn't be realistic in that trade, I think it probably would be Day'Ron Sharpe. Yeah, if you're talking about upside, I would definitely say that Kaminga does have more upside. I think the Kaminga possibility has kind of gone off the table with Jimmy Butler being hurt. I think if Golden State does trade Kaminga now, it'll be for more of a bigger fish or somebody that they're a bit more familiar with, like in Andrew Wiggins, for example. We've heard about that trade swap potentially being a possibility. Yeah, I think Kaminga definitely has higher upside, but I also do think he's off the table. Even though I even though I never was really a big fan of that trade to begin with. All right, do another question or two, then I'll wrap it up and make the post game video. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Think I'll keep doing post game live streams going forward. Definitely do more pre-game ones too. You guys seem to tune in better for those, but appreciate it nonetheless. But yeah, JJ putting Jackson the perimeter on offense more. Again, he's not taking them. I'd love for Hayes to get back to doing that and getting back to being a more confident 3-point shooter. Given that he showed it, he showed some ability to do it. JJ Redick directly seen it as a teammate. So if he get back to that, then again, I'm kind of shocked that Redick doesn't try to push him to do it a bit more. I thought, if anything, with Hayes taking a couple throughout preseason, we might see it, but it hasn't happened. Regardless, Hayes has become a lot better around the rim. He even put on some weight this offseason to be around the rim more and being able to hold his own better on the glass, around the rim on defense, so on and so forth. So he's definitely focusing more on that. Luka definitely likes more of the lob threat rather than the spacing big. I think if you could have both skill sets in the same player, that would be the ideal fit. But who knows? Maybe he'll get back to it, but I wouldn't hold my breath, unfortunately. All right, I'll end with this comment. What team is the worst matchup for the Lakers in each conference? I'm not going to go too far into the Eastern Conference, as to get them in a playoff matchup, they would need to make it to the NBA Finals, which with this current team, I'm not sure is a very high likelihood. But the worst matchup for them in the West, I would definitely point to OKC. Any team that is very defensive minded and has a lot of two-way talent tends to be a pretty bad matchup for them. We've seen it. OKC can definitely run them off the court. They can bother them defensively, and at the same time, the Lakers cannot match up with them offensively, or the Lakers defense can't match up with the Thunder's offense. Yeah, that's a bad matchup for them. If they're going to be able to compete with OKC, they need a lot more two-way talent, in my opinion. They need a legitimate 3-and-D wing. They need a better bench with two-way talent and more 3-and-D guard wing talent. That's a bad matchup for them. Curiously enough, I don't think that the Denver Nuggets are that bad of a matchup, even though they've been a pretty rough team for the Lakers to face dating back to 2023 in the postseason. I actually think with the team built around Luka instead of Anthony Davis a bit more, they're actually a better matchup for Denver. Not going to go on a tangent with that, but I know a lot of people tend to think as the Nuggets is a terrible matchup for them, but maybe not so much anymore. But definitely OKC. The Rockets, they're not a great matchup for them either. Another defensive minded team that is scrappy, pushes the pace, and the Lakers really can't keep up with that for a physical, athletic team like them. Within the top five, I think I'd definitely point to OKC and Houston as probably their worst matchups right now. But yeah, with that, appreciate you guys tuning in. Lakers did get a win tonight. Not the best opponent they beat, but we'll take the win regardless. Luka, insane game tonight. Triple double by halftime. First time in Lakers history. Deandre Ayton showing signs of life tonight. Anytime we see that, we'll definitely take it. Hopefully they're back on track for a big matchup on Sunday night against New York in Madison Square Garden in New York. So we'll see. We'll wait for that. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the game tonight. Hopefully you enjoyed the live stream and enjoy the rest of your night or day wherever you might be. Appreciate it.